Hi, I'm Mallory Perry. Welcome to Mondays with Mallory. I'm the Assistant Director of the Newnan-Coweta Historical Society, and our offices are here at the McRitchie Halls Museum, and we're just so lucky that we have these beautiful offices in which to work. But today's lesson is going to be about the Land Lottery of 1825. It's also going to have a little bit of geometry and algebra in it, and so you'll have some problems at the end to kind of figure out. That's for some high schoolers. And it's very easy algebra. I flunked algebra 1. I had to go to summer school. But even I can do this algebra. And actually, for those people who say, why do I have to learn algebra? I was in advertising for many years, and I used algebra every single day. And when I sew, I use algebra. So I actually kind of enjoy doing word problems like that. But anyway, it's going to be an easy algebra problem, I promise. So our country was formed in 1825. There were people living here before that. If you're familiar with Greason Trail, that was named for a Scotch trader named William Grierson. Actually, was his name, and he was here in the 1700s. And so we just got lazy though, and we didn't want to pronounce Grierson, so we just call it Greason Trail. So one thing that's kind of interesting about him is that he was married to a Creek Indian lady. This was very common for Creek Indian women to marry Scotch traders, and apparently there were a lot of them. So anyway, that little trail that led to his trading post, that's what Greason Trail was. So there were people living here in the 1700s. And so the formation of the county was in 1825, and we had to, these were, considered Creek Indian lands. So we had to negotiate with the Creeks about buying their lands. And I'm not going to talk too much about that, because when this is all over and we get back to normal and we start having our lecture series again, which is the third Tuesday of the month, we're going to have an expert from McIntosh Reserve come and speak to us on this subject, on the treaty, on a lot of stuff about General McIntosh, and I'm really excited to learn about that subject. So that will be another Monday with Mallory. Incidentally, if you need to write a paper or you need some project to work on, all of our lectures we have filmed and they're on our YouTube channel. So I'll put a link on that. And also, my entire docent manual is on Trello if you want to look through that. There's some historical documents in there as well. So anyway, I'll put a link on that if you like to use Trello. It's actually pretty cool. So the Treaty of Indian Springs, it was negotiated by General William McIntosh. And so after the sale was made, we had to, of course, survey the land. So, one thing I want to point out though, 2025, it's 5 years away. We're going to be celebrating 200 years in our county. So if you have a project that you think would be interesting that we could work on as a community, please let us know. And then the other thing I wanted to point out at this point of the tour is that there's only one Coweta County in the nation, and there's only one Newnan in the nation. And so that makes us kind of unique. So anyway, we found the parameters of the county, and actually the county used to be much larger. And it's been reabsorbed into Heard County, and there was a Campbell County. But anyway, these land lots were drawn up and distributed in 1827. Land districts were 9 miles square and then further subdivided into land lots that were 202.5 acres. That's really pretty random, I thought. And I was like, why is it like that? If they were saying, okay, 200 acres is what a family needs to survive or to make a profit, because that's what we were agrarian society. We were mostly farmers. So, but why 202.5 acres? It's so weird. Okay, that's where the algebra problem comes in. It's because of this. This is how they had to do the surveying. This is called a chain. And I'll get to that in a second, but I want to read something to you about land surveying. The need for land surveys dates back to ancient times. According to William Gillespie's Treatise on Land Surveying, it is perhaps the oldest of the mathematical arts. Indeed, geometry itself, as its name, land measuring, implies, it's geo, the earth, and metry is metrics, measuring, is said to have arisen from the efforts of the Egyptian sages to recover and to fix the landmarks annually swept away by the inundations of the Nile. Throughout history, a vast array of tools were invented to engineer marvels like the Great Pyramids and Stonehenge and to delineate pieces of land for ownership purposes. Although a variety of tools has been used over the centuries, the focus of this brief article is to provide a sampling of several instruments that were important to the development of surveying in the United States. In colonial North America, there was tremendous demand for both surveyors and equipment as early settlers, especially in Virginia and Maryland, evolved into small communities. So we all know that George Washington was a land surveyor in his youth. That was actually a really good job because of the, our country was just forming, and we were colonies then, but it was still forming, and we still needed to have these lines of ownership. So this chain apparatus was developed in 1620. It's called Gunters Chain, and it consisted of 100 links, each measuring blank. So that's a little math problem for you elementary school kids. The total was 60 feet of measurement. So if there were 100 links, in the 66 feet was the total length of those 100 links. What was the length of each link? That should be easy. The chain included brass rings at every 10 links to facilitate partial measurements. In practice, the chain is stretched out along a defined path and secured to the ground with steel pins. The measurement is then recorded and the process is repeated until the surveyor reaches the end point. So this would be a lot quicker job with two people, but you could do it by yourself. So, I want to tell you about the land lots themselves. So this is called a lottery. That's what it was. They would put this it was land lot 52 in this barrel and a stack of names in here in this barrel, and they would pull out a land lot and pull out a name. And there were ways that you could get your name into this barrel. And so they had to send out a notification of the Georgia Land Lottery, and how they did that, I assume that they did it through newspapers. So every newspaper every county has a legal newspaper where all the legal notifications are published. And in our county, that is the Newnan-Herald. So here's how you got your name into this barrel. The first people who could get their names in were bachelor, 18 years or over, 3 years residence in Georgia, citizen of the United States, one draw. Married man with wife and or minor son under 18 and or unmarried daughter, 3 years residence in Georgia, one draw. You did not have to be a resident of Georgia though. Widow, 3 years residence in Georgia, one draw. Wife and or child, 3 years residence in Georgia, or husband and or father absent from state for 3 years, one draw. Family, one or more of minor orphans, residence in the state since birth, two draws. Widow, husband killed in War of 1812, Revolutionary War of Indian Wars, 3 years residence in Georgia, two draws. Orphan, father killed in Revolutionary War or War of 1812 or Indian War, two draws. Wounded or disabled veteran of War of 1812 or Indian Wars, unable to work, two draws. Veteran of Revolutionary War, two draws. Veteran of Revolutionary War who had been fortunate drawer in any other previous lottery, one draw. Child or children of convicts, 3 years residence in Georgia, one draw. Male or female, idiots, lunatics, or insane, deaf and dumb or blind, over 10 and under 18 years, 3 years residence in Georgia, one draw. Family, one or two of minor illegitimates, resident since birth in Georgia, one draw. Family, 3 or more of minor illegitimates, resident since birth in Georgia, two draws. Persons excluded, any fortunate drawer in any previous land lottery. So that's how they did it. And if you have, if you are a Coweta family and you have family that's living on an original land lottery, we would really like to hear from you. And I suppose that we can do research on that, but it sure would take a lot of time. So please contact us. Oh, and let me give you the algebra problem. Okay, so I want you to figure out how they created this 202.5 acres. How many times did they have to lay out the chain? It was basically a square. That was the land lot. And if there were some fractional lots, like if there was a stream through it, then they just considered that to be fractional lots, and they made those smaller. But it was basically a square. So how many times did they have to stake the chains? How many times did they have to do that to get a square that equated to 202.5 acres? So what you need to know is, you need to know the square footage of an acre, and you need to know how long that chain was, which is 66 feet. So I've given you that information. One other thing I want to tell you about the word acre. It has lots of derivations, but it was to indicate the size of land, the plot of land that one oxen could plow in a day. That's how they measured an acre. So anyway, I hope that keeps you busy. And at the end of the day, if you can't figure out that algebra problem, I'm going to put it down in there for you. Okay, bye.